Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back, and it is time for another Starcraft 2 Pro replay cast. We have got ourselves what's gonna be a Protoss versus Zerg here on the map Oxide. And sending the probe charging out of his base in the bottom left, it's none other than Alpha X's Zoun. I'm probably gonna slip up and call him Zoun because that's how you'd think it is said, but that's not the case. So anyway, Zoun, very good Protoss player, kind of an enigma in the scene, or not an enigma, an anomaly, pardon me, in the sense that he is one of the best players who's been up and coming. And in this, like, if anyone's new in StarCraft is a very relative term. Someone could have started playing the game 6 years ago and they'd say, oh, he hasn't been playing it that long, you know? But anyway, if you guys do enjoy these kind of pro casts, I should tell you that he's playing against Dark before I get into that, though. Dark, you guys know who Dark is. He's a world champion. He's won a lot of tournaments and stuff. And he's a very fun Zerg player to watch. The master of the comeback. But yeah, Dark, very darn good. And yeah, as I was about to say before, if you guys enjoyed these videos, make sure to go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, consider becoming a member if you do want to support the channel. I'm trying to do videos as often as I can, even though I am heckin' busy. But always a little bit of time for StarCraft 2. If I'm like sitting on the couch for a little bit, it's like, you know what? Why don't I cast some StarCraft or something? You know? But, yeah, anyway, we have got ourselves double hatch from Dark, no surprise there, and then just Zoun scouting it out. It's also worth mentioning that Dark is on the Gosu crew, which I think is an awesome clan name. I believe he's still on the Gosu crew. Maybe not. You know, guys, it's not often that I Google things during these casts, but we're gonna check. He was on the Gosu crew, but that's not a thing anymore. No, now he's on Dragon Phoenix Gaming. Pardon me. That was probably the last time I cast a Dark game, when he was on the Gosu crew. And the fact that he's still got crew in his clan tag is a little bit misleading. Regardless of that, though, Stargate is on the way here for Zoun. I mean, he's going to have an Adept crossing the map, then there'll be another Adept crossing the map, most likely. All in all, this is just a sign of a god-tier Protoss. Once you reach a certain level with Protoss, you're able to rally out your Adept, harass the Protoss, and not mess up your build at all. And that is not an easy thing, and the best pros are always controlling their Adept so darn well. We see Zoun looking for opportunity here, is able to get the first Creep Tumor for a whopping 7 HP off of this Adept. That is beautiful work there with that Adept. And now she's going to be getting on home before she goes down. Terrifies a drone that was running away at the third base. But in the end, does get pushed away. Well, it does have to go home based on the presence of Zerglings. But Zerglings. Would a big Zergling be called a Zerglong? I don't know. Anyway. Oracle on the way. Soon to be a Void Ray getting Chrono Boosted out behind it. You do generally have to go for one Oracle just in case the Zerg decides to flood a bunch of Lings. The Void Ray, though, very common follow-up these days. And then we'll see what Zoun's about to do. Being a newer player in the scene, he is one who does seem to come up with a lot of his own creative builds. Or not necessarily his own builds, but puts his own tweak on builds. And now we take a look. A Void Ray is on out. Gonna pop that Overlord like a balloon. Prismatic alignment to get it done as quick as possible so it doesn't even spot the row away. And that just goes to show how the little things in StarCraft 2 matter. Just killing that Overlord a bit quicker. Is quite significant. Now, that's actually another interesting thing. The Void Ray actually, when using Prismatic Alignment, deals versus an Overlord or something. It deals about, oh, that's what, 60% more damage or so. That's pretty significant. Now we take a look. A Hydroden's on the way for Dark. This is rather quick. A Hydroden at the 50 worker mark. Got up quite a quick lair. That has yet to be spotted as well. So really quick Hydroden here for Zoun. This is kind of like the meta was for a little bit when Zergs were just going 66 drones and spamming Hydras. That's not so much the case anymore, but Dark could potentially be getting a bit aggressive here with more Zerglings on the way. Oracle does come on in, however, spots the Hydroden. That's quite an important scout there for Zoun. He's getting up charge, he's got up his Templar Archives, he may be going into something else, we shall see. But yeah, scouting that's pretty important, because he's going to have to pay attention because there could be a large aggressive Zerg force on the way. Zoun has actually got his High Templar loaded up into the Prism, but obviously there's no Storm just yet, and that's not being researched, so he's most likely going to drop these somewhere, then morph them into an Archon, which is interesting, I'll say. The fact that he chose not to morph them at home, maybe trying to keep that a bit of a secret, I'm unsure of. He is going to have to be rather careful, though, when he is deciding to go for this Archon drop based off the presence of Hydras. Hydras just tear through Warp Prisms, they even deal good damage to Archons, they outrange them. And they definitely will once that group finds it's done. And then we've got a Spire on the way for Dark, but he actually changes his mind upon seeing the Oracle come in. He did not want that Spire to be seen. And this is where Zoun adds some bite to this Archon drop. Regular Archon drop, not going to get too much done. But then you see all of a sudden Archons in the main base of Dark with Zealot in there too is rather terrifying. While this is going on, the Dark is kind of ransacking the third base of Zoun. Zoun's gone for a wall behind this. Ling is going to work away on this Adepto, and oh, gotta be careful. They very well may actually get through this. This is not a solid wall. The Lings don't actually run into the main base, though. Dark not actually microing that presently. He's busy trying to put out the multiple fires in his base as the Oracle's harassing at the natural. He cleaned up what was in his main base. He's cleaning up the Adepts at the third, but took big losses with losing his main base structure, the lair going down there. So he's going to have to at least get the third base there of Zoun. He's going to be able to make that happen. He's still got quite a good army supply, and coming on in, getting on these Stalkers and Zealots is huge. Looks like Zoun does manage to retreat in time, and the shield batteries will be a huge help for him. The Hydras just put out so much damage, though he's got to be careful. The Archons in the Prism were successfully evacuated and kept alive. That's a big deal for Zoun. But yeah, I'm not sure where this game's going to go with Dark having lost his main base hatchery. Does he rebuild that? Most likely, so he can save his spawning pool. He's going to have to. However, it's not an easy call to make as the Zerg. But yeah, he must be building that main base again. And there we go. He's probably going to want to uproot that Spore Crawler as it is dying rather quickly. Gosh, those builds die very quickly for Zerg. Once they're off creep, Spore Crawlers will not survive. Spawning pool will survive, Spore Crawler will not. Dark, being the god he is, though, does reposition that. It's the little things, you know? And then we take a look. This game's just going to continue on, it seems, as Zoun. He's getting up Storm as he already had that Templar Archives done. He's rebuilding his third base, and honestly, not a bad spot at all for the Protoss. As Dark is getting up his Lurker Den. Fun fact, you don't actually need a lair to build a Lurker Den. You just need the Hydra Den, which requires the lair. So that's something that you don't know every day. Basically, Dark can tech up even though he doesn't have his lair. Oracle's coming back on in. This has been an MVP for Zoun. It's only got 6 kills, but the vision it's provided has been worth a lot, and now it is dead. So, kind of jinxed that guy there. And yeah, this game's just continuing on. I mean, Dark is an expert, though, from playing at a low eco Zerg position, so we'll see. I get the feeling that this game is going to get even scrappier than it already has been. But gosh, I am quite worried for Dark. I mean, Zoun already got himself these High Templar. He's already got Storm done. I'm worried for Dark. He does have that Lurker tech finished up. He's got 7 Lurkers on the way, though. And the Immortal count isn't that big for Zoun. So I'm not too worried here for the Protoss. Or for the Zerg. Of course, any attacking Protoss army like this is scary, but the Lurkers, I think they should be enough to dissuade this force from coming forward, particularly based on the fact that there's no Observer in position. Now the Observer's coming forward for Zoun, and here we see High Templar stepping forward with the Archons, but eventually he's going to see those Lurkers and go, uh-oh, wait a second. Creep's going to be the first victim, getting cleaned up by the Protoss force that's stepping forward. Those Archons going to kill off the Spore Crawler. Lurkers repositioning, just trying to bully away the Protoss as much as possible. There we see Zoun takes the first hit and immediately backs up. Not going to force the issue at the present. You gotta outposition Lurkers, which is still doable since these Lurkers don't have adaptive talons yet. Once they have adaptive talons, it seems like it takes years. It seems like it takes years and years for those things to, or no time at all. Pardon me. The opposite of years and years, for them to reburrow. When they don't have it, they take years to burrow. It seems. Yes. Now we've got a fleet beacon on the way here for Zoun. So he is going to be potentially getting up carriers or a mothership second. The Stargate is on the way as well, so going to be starting to piddle out those carriers or whatever. I definitely don't mind it because he did just cancel the Zerg 4th. He knows what economic position he's in. Zoun's going to warp in 6 Zealots, maybe try and cancel this base. He probably will get it from the seam of things. Protoss army swinging to the left, or a boatload of Zealots anyway. Yeah, going to get a cancel on that hatchery. That's beautiful work by the Protoss player. A further denial of that base is just magnificent. The Lurkers are still going to keep Zoun at bay, but even behind this, he's going to be able to tech up to carriers or something like that. So I'm really not worried at all for him. And it seems he has actually got the Protoss a little bit out of position. There's a Psystorm going down. First one of those we've seen. Lings and Lurkers are getting on top of all the Zealots by themselves, which is nice. But then look at this. The Lings just get slaughtered by the Archons. There's Psystorm going down too. The Lings may as well not have been there for how badly they fared. The Hydras do help pick off the Observer, and that was actually a very clutch play by Dark. Shutting down the Observer saved all those Lurkers' lives and is actually going to force Zoun away. Another Archon does go down. Great pickoffs there by Dark. That was a brilliant play by him. However, now another Observer is coming forward. Drones are being pulled in an act of desperateness by Dark. He's going to have more Hydras out. He's trying to pick off the Prism. He doesn't quite get it. He's got 1 or 2 Lurkers left alive in this mess. I think he might have killed the Observer again, though, so he's going to be able to force Zoun away. But Dark took big drone losses during that. 13 drones he just lost. He can't afford to lose that. He did just get up his 4th base. He also had some Lurkers over to the right. Were they there the entire time? They definitely needed to take part in that fight, but then again, reburrowing Lurkers when they don't have adaptive talons is a slow process. I'm quite concerned here for Dark, though, as this game goes on. I mean, he's making just a trickle of units, Hydras, Queens, Lurkers. But Zoun's getting up his 4th base, and he's got carriers on the way now. Dealing with carriers is not easy as a Zerg at all. And unless you have, say, Corruptors and Vipers or something like that. So we are going to see Dark step on in, try and get on top of the Protoss when the Protoss is out of position. This is beautiful lurking position. Psystorm goes down there on some of the Lurkers, but Dark's just going to reposition these, and Lurkers are hard to break for the Protoss. So great timing by Dark, it would seem. However, if he does lose all the Hydras, then the carriers will be able to clean everything up. There's the battery overcharge. Just trying to heal as many of these units as possible. More Lurkers reposition. Hydras retreat. Just trying to do what they can. More Lings are rallying on in, but the Protoss has collapsed on top of the Lurkers. It looks like there's only 2 left. A Revelation is going to allow 1 more to be picked off. Zoun did take worker losses during this. He also loses an Oracle he just rebuilt. And this Lurker still being at this 3rd base is rather beautiful play, keeping in mind that Dark does have his 4th base up, so he can eventually transfer workers there. Zealot warp in for Zoun, actually indicating that he's probably just going to want to go for an attack. Loses his Warp Prism. Yes, he does. Dark's having to retreat once more, though. He's got barely any units left. Really just Hydras. Thankfully for him, there's no more Psystorm for the Protoss, but there goes his 4th. The Protoss player is still on 4 bases, even if this 3rd base isn't mining at the minute. There's a chance this Lurker could kill it. That would be quite a surprise. 1 Lurker killing off a base like this is rather slow going. Dark is just focusing on the hold right now, transfusing individual Hydras. With 10 more on the way, he's doing what he can. He's retreating, kiting back against the Zealots. Just picking off a lot of those units. These Hydras don't have any attack upgrades, but they still put out a lot of work. They are able to kill off the Interceptors. He's losing a few drones, but I mean, honestly, at this point for Dark, it's better his army than his drones, but there's a Psystorm. The Zerg is just desperately trying to hang on, unable to establish a good economy. He does pick off some of the Archons. The carriers really lost their Interceptors. It's going to be a full-on recall by Zoun. He gets out with the carriers, but loses an Immortal, loses a couple of other units during that, and Dark holds on just once again, showing his brilliance with just staying alive, you know? I am quite concerned, though, for Dark. He's going to be mining out. Both players are on a rather low worker count, but Zoun does have this base alive. The carriers are going to rebuild their interceptors, and 3 carriers, once they've rebuilt their interceptors, is no joke. There's Psystorm in the army for the Protoss, and Dark spending his last few coppers here, or his low amount of coppers, on some lurkers. He's got 5, which is pretty decent. We'll see if the Protoss is able to break this. Dark's positioning with his Hydras is usually pretty darn good. He's trying to reestablish up his 4th base. He's got a lurker even just chilling here. I'm not sure what that's about. But all of a sudden, in comes the Protoss, but then backs on out, sees more morphing lurkers. Dark repositioning his forces, and so far he's doing a brilliant job posturing to keep the Protoss away from his base. The more lurkers moving towards that 4th base to defend it. They did get into position there. He's going to have to dodge the Psystorms while this is going on. Zoun wants to kill off this 4th base. He knows if he can get this, that could potentially be the game for him. Great job zoning out the Zerg with those Psystorms. More Psystorms going down. Dark saves the lurkers, though, but he's not going to be able to save his 4th base. It looks like he's getting interceptors during this. But yeah, he's going to have to cancel that 4th, and he does. Poor Dark there. Going to rebuild it, but that's just a further delay on his economy, which is just getting worse and worse as time goes on. Thankfully, I mean, Dark is still kind of mining optimally because it's not like he's got that many drones anyway, but once those patches start to disappear, it's going to get real rough. If you thought it was bad, now it's going to get worse. Then we see the Protoss player is getting up this 4th base, and once that's going, that's going to be a huge boost to the economy of Zoun. Dark's economy's actually been in the lead for the past little while, but once that 4th base does get up, and Zoun even saturates it a little bit, he's really going to surge ahead, I believe. The main base now mined out for the Protoss, not for the Zerg just yet, interestingly enough, but it's going to get there. Another carrier did just pop out, so that number's now going to be a 4, which is just even more terrifying. Dark, however, has been building up his force. His Brute Hydra Lurker composition really is something. And honestly, the trades he's been taking have not been that bad this game. Only behind about 3,000, 2,000 really. His resources lost. Let's take a look here. In come the carriers, in come the Immortals, Archons, High Templar en masse, dropping down the Psystorm. Lurkers having to dodge. Gosh, how Dark wishes they had adaptive talons right now, but that's just not feasible. Drones having to abandon the space. Psystorms going down. More Psystorms going down. Lurkers taking the brunt of it. The Hydra's doing a good job dodging. Dark steps forward, trying to get any pick off he can with the high burst damage of the Hydralisk. Dark slowly repositioning his forces, but gosh, there's just so much Psystorm. Great unburr there by Dark, keeping those Lurkers alive. He's now picking off some of the interceptors, but another brutal Psystorm goes down. 7 drones with it. The hatchery's really under fire. This could be the game-winning push by Zoun, and oh, I think the hatchery does go down. With that, Dark is probably gonna be dying here unless he can somehow kill off the entire Protoss army. And I mean, he's getting on top of it, but there's always just another Psystorm here for Zoun. The Hydras are moving forward. He is getting on top of the army. I mean, there's an Immortal in the mix. Well, 3 Immortals actually are all going to go down, but the carriers do retreat. Dark's going to grab absolutely everything, but all Zoun really needs to do is warp in a few Zealots and rebuild his interceptors, which should not take long. He's got 1,000 minerals in the bank. And then Dark, he's just broke as a joke now. That main base mining out. He's trying to get up the 4th base, but gosh, how many times that's been canceled, I do not know. It's been, I mean, he's lost 2 hatcheries and a lair, but the amount of times that was canceled is pretty darn high this game, I think. In comes Dark with his Hydra's going to make one final hurrah, but there's those Zealots, there's High Templars for good measure. GG gets called. Zoun actually takes the game, but gosh, what an incredible showing by Dark. As usual, just trying to hang on, and it's always so close to the Zerg stabilizing and building up that big army. But yeah, beautiful play there by Zoun. Just realizing that he was in a better position, keeping the pressure on Dark that entire game is not an easy thing. He was pretty much living at Dark's 4th base. Yeah, really great play from both sides, though. Thanks so much to everyone for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button. I'll see you guys next time.